here. So what I'm going to go ahead and take you through is basically a posterior capsule stretch for the shoulder. What we're trying to really do is increase our internal rotation. Super important, especially if you're doing a bench press. As we come down with the bench press, if we're not able to get to this position correctly, and as we come down here, our scapula starts to tilt up. That's when you see all these people having a lot of really bad problems right here in the front of the shoulder. So by having that, being able to internally rotate and stay back and down, we're going to be able to press a lot better, and it's going to keep that shoulder in a lot better situation. So the name of the stretch is actually going to be the sleeper. We're actually going to do some PAILs and RAILs from it, so it's going to be from the FRC system. After that, we're going to go ahead and show you how to really keep the changes you made. So by stretching stuff out and opening up range of motion, it's a great thing to do, but as long as you follow it up with something that's going to actually solidify that range of motion and actually get you to keep that, then that's what we're going to really want to do so that it actually makes long-lasting change. All right, so as we get into the sleeper stretch, what we're going to have you do is you're going to go ahead and lay flat on your side. Okay, so as you're on your side, what I want you to make sure we're doing is we're going to tuck our butt all the way under us so that our posterior tilt of the pelvis happens. After that, I want you to pull your toes towards us. We're going to make sure that we're in a really good position. Eric Cressy actually had a good article on this. It's okay to get into some of these stretches that can be almost a little bit sketchy as long as we have a good relationship between the rib cage, the pelvis, which eventually is going to put the shoulder in a good position as well. So from here, different angles have different values, but what I want you to do is start either at 90 or most likely just a little bit below 90 degrees for this angle. If you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable in the neck, you can go ahead and put your head on something. What I don't want you to do is close down this joint by trying to get a little bit too close. So if you start getting tired of the neck, don't do that. Try to keep yourself a little bit longer. And I also want you to make sure that you're pulling this left shoulder blade back and down so that the back side of the shoulder, right where this rear delt is actually going to kind of stay on the ground the entire time. Next thing that we're doing is we're going to basically passively get to where we want to go to our end range. So you're here, big deep breath in, sink all the way in. In a healthy shoulder, an ideal world, we're probably going to get pretty damn close to the ground, if not touching it already. Once I get through my first round, I'll probably be already on the ground, or I can get to there sometimes, I'm not just right off of the bat. But try to really breathe into it. 30 seconds, in for 4, out for 8. We're keeping this back side of the shoulder on the ground. You can't put your hand under here and get under here. So if you're the coach or the trainer, just make sure that you're not able to slide under there. Keep that there. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and place this hand, not on the wrist, but actually on the forearm. We're thinking about actually affecting the shoulder. So what I want you to really think about is actually the rotations happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire the back side of the shoulder that's touching the ground, and I'm going to go ahead and push into my hand for 20 seconds. After that, I'm going to go ahead and internally rotate my shoulder further without touching it by doing it actively with the shoulder. So it's going to look like this. System air into your abs, get nice and tight. You're going to go 20 seconds pushing in. The back side of the shoulder, what's actually doing it, I want you to visualize like you're actually firing that. From there, say I just did 20 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and lift my hand off, and I'm going to go ahead and reach into the ground, trying to internally rotate the shoulder more. So the first contraction is going to override the stretch reflex. Second contraction is going to use regressive tissues to pull us deeper. Once we get as far as we can for about 10 seconds, put that hand back on there. Go right back to your diaphragmatic breathing, and you'll see that'll sink right in. I'm barely even using tension, but I'm going to sink all the way down. Once you get down to the ground, stay here. If you're all the way up, that's fine. Just keep working. We want to do at least 2 rounds. Another thing to really think about is if you turn your hand out like this, you'll notice that you lose the tension. What we want to do is keep that hand facing here. Think about your hands pointed towards the belt buckle. The other thing is you're going to feel a huge stretch. So the capsule is actually going to feel like it's running down to the tricep and everything. So it should be pretty intense. So don't be alarmed by that. It shouldn't be painful, but it should be a good stretch. Take it easy. Start off with about 30% of your max contraction, and then if you get a little bit more comfortable, you can start getting a little bit higher. Once you do 2 rounds, stay in it for about a minute, 30 seconds, big deep breaths. The longer the better, obviously, to make that change. And then we'll show you the next thing that we're going to really solidify this with. All right. So we just did the sleeper stretch. Should feel a little bit more internal rotation, maybe 5 to 15 degrees, a little bit more. Something that you want to do more often, obviously, if you're not already touching the ground. And even if you are, just strengthening that end range and being able to push back is going to create some resiliency in those tissues and really do a little bit of injury prevention, which is always important. So the next thing, like we talked about, you can't just open up the range of motion, open the door, walk away. We got to step inside, we got to do a few things, really solidify it so that it's something that's going to be yours for the future. So real simple, one of the things that you can definitely do is just an overhead shoulder car. I'm not going to show you one of those because you got it right on the channel, and just go ahead and check it out. It's right under my YouTube channel under the cars playlist. So those would be a great thing for you to do. Another thing that we can do is we can actually do more of an axial car. So that's going to be the arms straight out to the side. You're going to exhale the ribs down and in, stay nice and tight. From there, I'm going to work on not letting the trap fly up, so none of this. And I don't want a rib flare either. I want to think about from here down is completely rotating as one. So it's going to look just like this. Get your tension, trap the air in your abs, and then you're going to go ahead and start to slowly rotate that shoulder all the way in. And this should feel a little bit better than it would have before, but you notice that I'm not elevating here, so I'm staying there. What I can do is I can do a little hold here, so I can stay here for 10 seconds, trying to actively turn in more, visualizing this turning, and then I can actually go full range of motion and try to get that to rotate all the way back into external rotation, and then bring it back. We can do about 10 reps of those. We can do about 5 sets of just holding for 10 seconds, really solidify that. We can do the exact same thing and even have the elbow bent, so this is going to really mimic your bench press. You're literally getting to the same position we were just in as a sleeper, but now we're going to learn how to control it, so the rotation's happening at the shoulder. We're rotating all the way back, maxing out external rotation, then you're slowly feeling the rotation happening at the shoulder. Remember, we're not hiking up the shoulder blade, we're not shrugging, you're turning all the way in, keeping that elbow basically in the same spot while the shoulder rotates. So those are 2 quick things that are going to give us a little bit more control, and holding at the end range is going to give us a little bit more strength to really solidify that sleeper that we just